Hello and welcome to Counterpressed on The Ringer and Spotify. I'm in the studio with Jessy Humphreys and Becky Taylor-Gill. On today's show, after 34 games unbeaten in the WSL, Chelsea finally lose and Everton become the unlikely team to beat the champions. We'll talk about that as Manchester City go 6 points clear just before we enter the winter break. Well, JPH under the lights.
Jessy, for taking the heat off me. Taking the heat off Liverpool. Flo, before the game, was like, yeah, Arsenal-Liverpool, that will be our main story. I was like, fuck's sake.
Actually, what Flo said would be our main story was Arsenal-Aston Villa, which I think we should all talk about. Just the men's game instead.
Yeah.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you mistyped.
Oh, sorry, I must have been
You had
watching
Arsenal
Match of the
men
Day.
on your brain.
Can I say, I think this might be counterpressed herstory because I think this could be the first time we've recorded a podcast when QPR are the only team to have won on the weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because
that's
both
so true.
your men's teams also didn't win.
What was your score?
No.
The Liverpool men's game was crazy.
That was crazy.
Don't-
Yeah,
I
I went out for my Saturday evening at 3-2.
And I
then
also
suddenly
have
it was
to
3-3.
say, Mohamed Salah is single-handedly
Ooh.
keeping mixed zones alive.
Yeah.
Because clubs,
He loves to go and make a
clubs
statement.
and nations are doing their damnedest to make mixed zones.
And
zig zones.
I wish he wouldn't.
No, I love it.
The face of the Liverpool press officer.
It's so funny.
They like it, for those of us in the media world, there is nothing that press officers hate more than having to do a mixed zone. It's honestly like they would rather it didn't exist, and most of them pretend like it doesn't.
And
right?
most players seem to feel the same.
Yeah, most
apart from Mo.
and
Well, it's that
Lucy
tweet,
Bronze
isn't it?
actually.
It's like, think of the messiest person you know. It's a man. And also often, it's Mo Salah.
Yeah. So what I love about Mo Salah and his team is they are always, if we want to maybe get a move, get a new contract, cause a bit of drama, get into the mix zone, get a microphone in front of our mouths, and we're going to kick off. Let this be a lesson to all women's players: is you can use the mix zone to get what you might want.
Chloe
okay?
Kelly, why did you do the
tweet.
notes app
Exactly.
on Instagram when we could have had you?
I need people
Actually,
to
Manchester
realise.
City
There's a
never do
little
mixed
spot
zones,
for
so-
you right here, Chloe, next time.
Normally, the mix zone is out by the car park, and somehow the players forget they've got to go there, or the press officers basically just don't bother. My favourite was Subway Cup final early this year, where there was this little sort of small thing that they'd set up, and the players were just doing a circle and then leaving with their pizza box. And then basically it was almost like, we've done the fake mini circle and leaving, so we've done the official mix zone. So yeah, Mo Salah, respect the mix zone.
I was crashing. My noggin. I don't think it's ever been more boiled.
Who are you, Team Mo or you Team Anna?
It's just very sad. I don't think I am a team, but I think that it was foolish from Mo. I feel disappointed in him. And I love Arne Slot, and I don't think he should get sacked. So I do think it's like, you've made the situation like much worse. Just like go off to AFCON, have a nice time, come back, see where,
I do
see
think
where
it's
things
pretty
lie.
poor form from
Yeah.
him.
I like the line where he said, "Oh, my family are going to come to the Brighton game because it's my last game."
Like,
Before AFCON.
also, you don't have the bargaining power that you did last season when you were doing all this, because
Well,
you've signed a contract.
I guess it is trying to maybe see if a Saudi team will come in January for him as well. But anyway, we digress because, this is a women's football podcast as much as we're talking about respecting the mix zone.
I'm happy that we've managed to push
you're
along.
not getting away with that.
Filibustering with the Premier League.
You are trying to filibuster, and there will be no more
And who
filibustering.
else enjoyed Mark Gay's winner against Fulham yesterday?
Let's talk Chelsea losing to Everton after this. So, after 585 days, we are finally talking about a WSL defeat on this podcast. That's actually the real quiz. Not the fact that Chelsea lost in the WSL. The fact that JPH has gone basically nearly 2 years without having to talk about a WSL defeat on this podcast.
Literally like, what is this feeling? So sad.
Wow.
It must be nice.
That was great. That was great.
And you like that one.
It is actually bonkers when you think about the days thing makes it sound mental. Obviously, like the season only.
Who was the last? Was it Liverpool?
It was.
It was.
Oh.
What is it with us and Merseyside?
Teams,
Yeah. So yes, Chelsea did lose after a record 34 unbeaten run in the WSL. Finally comes to an end. We got a customary bonkers WSL account tweet ripping.
Oh God,
Brian
yeah.
Sorensen ripping a piece of paper with Sonia Bombastov's face
God,
on
it's so unhinged.
It's really unhinged.
I need to have a look. On the WSL account?
Yeah, have a look.
I thought you were talking about the Everton one, which I thought was really funny.
Oh, the 6-7.
Yeah.
Oh, this Everton 6-7 one was
I'm too
good.
old to even understand that.
I still don't understand how 6-7 where it came from, but I do know
yeah,
it's a thing.
It's just come from nowhere, and
But I
the
think
kids
it's
love
from
it.
a song, or
I don't know.
I
don't
watched
know.
when Keir Starmer did it, and I was like, God,
Oh
this is
no, that
embarrassing.
is cursed. So yeah, Everton did a tweet because what was even the 6-7?
I think that was the number of games in a row Chelsea had scored.
Oh, scored
Yes.
in. That was it. It wasn't the
Yeah.
unbeaten run. So they'd scored in 67 games in a row, and then obviously didn't. So yes, they lose. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
the.
I know, I know. But Brian Sorensen actually the perfect manager for that kind of image because he does look quite scary. I kind of felt like they should have just got a picture of him actually ripping up a photo of Sonia.
Yeah, I feel like he would have done it. Yeah,
because I have seen him do some crazy press conferences at Kingsmeadow as well.
Who could
does
forget
not
when?
like
Do you remember he got
Chelsea.
sent off?
I
there
know
last
for the
season?
2 dodgy penalties.
Yeah. What is also really funny about this is Everton had only won one game, which was their opening game of the season. And this is their second win of the season, which is quite funny. They are like they'd had a pretty stinky run of it. But Jessy, when did you start to feel watching this game that it was going to be the first L in a very long time?
Well, I've got to say, guys, I didn't go to Kingsmeadow, so I was not there. And
To
I
be honest,
also
it
wasn't there the
quite
last
empty.
time
I thought you were planning to go.
I wasn't there the last time we lost to Kingsmeadow, which was that funny Brighton. Oh no, that wasn't the last time. The last time we lost that long unbeaten run, which was that funny Brighton game.
You should
just shows you
Anyway,
should
I was
go.
busy. I had watching Lando Norris win the F1. So the first time I said the word donkeys was when Everton scored. The first time I thought, oh, we're not going to score was, I'd say, 60 minutes in. You were saying before the pod you felt at half time it wasn't going to be Chelsea.
Yeah, there was just a funny feeling started to creep in. I mean, I know we'll go through the stats, and I know FOTMob had Chelsea hitting the woodwork officially 3 times. I counted it as 5.
No, they had it as 4, didn't they?
Did they have it as 4 in the end?
It was a lot.
Flo
That's
disputes.
too many times.
I
to
dispute the
hit
stats because
flopped her.
the more that the ball was ricocheting off the woodwork, the more I thought, oh, I don't think this is going to be their day. And there was a moment in the first half where the ball kind of squeezes under Courtney Brosnan, where she makes a save, but it nearly goes in, and it just goes past the post. And I just thought, there's something about this day which feels like maybe there's something in the water. And it also felt like Chelsea kind of didn't necessarily create their best chances until the latter sort of half an hour. And then they got more and more frustrated. And Sonia Bompastor was trying to throw on more players to try and kind of salvage it, but none of them were sort of being able to get into the game fast enough. In the end, 79% possession, 30 shots. I think we have seen more in some of those weird WSL results that are like a 1-0 steal. That time that Reading beat City, I can't remember if they hit 30 shots, but that was a classic of this sort of vein.
But it's only like 6 on target, which is very poor.
The XG was very low.
Yeah, 1.5 XG in the end. It was. You could tell as well on the sideline. Sonia Bompastor was getting angrier and angrier.
The moment when Sandy Baltimore put out that second corner and they cut to Sonia going, Sandy, she's going, that's 2. I was like, oh,
yeah,
terrifying.
she was fuming. I mean, come on, Baltimore putting 2 out. That was embarrassing.
I know, but then she almost. I mean, if that direct free kick had gone in, she'd have redeemed. She put 2 corners directly out.
That's so
Yeah,
embarrassing.
they didn't even get into the box.
That's awful.
It was pretty poor. I guess my take, Jessy, is from the off, it was a team that looked tired coming off the international break. A lot of players who've played, I mean, Lucy Bronze. I mean,
Lucy Bronze centre-back era.
Lucy Bronze centre-back era. So
And her and Kelly Gargo, that was kind of a fun beef.
Millie Bright didn't start, was on the bench again.
Despite not going away on international break.
Natalie
obviously.
Bjorn injured. So Lucy Bronze was preferred at centre-back alongside Naomi Girma. Yeah, for me, the main takeaway was a tiredness. That was a kind of like first issue I saw for Chelsea. What were your kind of thoughts on kind of what went wrong outside of a little bit of luck that didn't quite fall for them?
Too many 10s. What the hell? You can't... Why are you playing LJ, Micah?
Well, the
Pat.
LJ thing is
Too much.
LJ's first start in 250 days or something. Obviously, we haven't seen her play a lot of football this season, and I can understand Bonpastor's probably thinking, okay, we need to play her into form, play her into full fitness. Starting her in this game on paper at home, you think this is the game that gives her some minutes, but straight away you see a player who is so lacking in game time. It's like everyone else is playing a different match to her. She's so far off the pace. She's not locked in, and she's a complete ghost. And I think that maybe that change could have come earlier. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. She went off at 55 minutes, right? She goes off for Sam. I don't think it was necessarily about which one it needed to be or didn't need to be. I just think not having all three, it just looked so unbalanced. And like Tash Dowie on comms was getting like annoyed about various different players dropping. And I don't have a problem with players dropping, especially against low blocks, because I do think it can like sometimes drag players out of position if they kind of lose concentration, blah, blah, blah. But you can't have everyone dropping. That is where I draw the line. And I think that was the problem. It was like, and I feel like it's a little bit of a concern with Chelsea because it feels like this is a bit of a recurring theme, that there aren't necessarily players who seem to know whether they're dropping off, whether they're supposed to be crashing the box, because it just kind of felt a bit bizarre that like for Everton it was really easy to defend the box because lots of the time there wasn't any Chelsea players there. And I think Chelsea are obviously in a position where maybe there are a couple of players who aren't in great form. You know, like I don't think Aggie Beaver-Jones has had a great run of a month or so. And, I think she sort of didn't look great for England either. So, like, I don't think that's just a Chelsea thing per se. And I think Chelsea's XG is like 21, which is the second best in the league, and they've scored 16. That's kind of a bit of a variant thing. Chelsea also have moments where they scam stuff as well. And like, it does go both ways. So I think Chelsea are just in a bit of a run of bad luck. Like I think most people would say on another day you see Chelsea score one, maybe two. But I do think it feels like in attack, this isn't a team that's really clicking at the moment and hasn't really clicked for a while. I think some of that you can put on injuries, but I think some of that you do have to like look tactically at why this doesn't feel like a team that's very well coached in the final third at the moment.
I also wanted to pick up on a sort of sense that a result like this had sort of been coming, because we've seen some performances from Chelsea this season where they haven't looked at their best but still got the result. So do you feel like this was an element of like the reality of something like this was going to come at some point?
I mean, something like this was going to come at some point because Chelsea weren't going to carry on not losing games forever. But yeah,
as you'd have liked that.
as much as I like that. I agree. I think as well there's been some stats I don't really know off the top of my head, but I've definitely seen them on television about like the number of games Chelsea win by one goal. And that was also true last season. And like the reality is if you can't put games to bed, and Bonpastor has talked about this in the past, and I think she sort of put it on kind of the players.
And I guess even that Barca game in the Champions League was a prime example.
The Barca game, the Arsenal game. I'd say what's been funny about Chelsea this season is there have been some performances, like Everton, like the Liverpool game, which have been poor. And there have been some performances which I've felt like has been the best I've seen Chelsea play in years. But the problem is it, like in that Barca game, and even in, let's say, the first 45, 60 minutes of the Arsenal game, even in those really good performances, Chelsea aren't putting the game to bed. So they're not then even getting sort of the benefits from there. Now, that I wonder if it is a bit of just like players not necessarily being in form, a bit more like bad luck, because I think clearly in those moments, like especially Barcelona, I don't think you can say that wasn't a well-coached performance. But then I guess it does kind of feel like maybe in these games where Chelsea are playing more against low blocks, that they're struggling to turn their dominance into goals and even into good chances, because I think that's the thing, you know, obviously yesterday felt very tense. Chelsea did hit the post a lot. When you look at the XG, when you look at the quality of chances created, and this was also true against Liverpool, it's not very good. And I found it hard
in the start of the second half, there were a lot of hopeful shots from distance, which is never a good sign.
I find it hard to come away from yesterday. I think Chelsea could have won it, given some of the chaos that was going on. I find it hard to try and argue that they should have won it.
What point, because obviously we asked you what point you got nervous, but what point do you think they were like, fucking hell? Because like 11 minutes, that's a long time to be like, okay, we're going to turn it around, it's fine. Yeah. But what point do you think
when Everton scored their goal?
Yeah. At what point do you think they got like in their heads about it?
I will actually say I think the biggest credit I can give the players is that I think sometimes you see teams where they're in that position and they do sort of get frustrated and the game kind of peters out. I would say to the players' credit, I actually felt like it didn't really feel like.
Well, Emily Heathsip was doing her damnedest to keep adding time on. She was giving them
I was rattled by that.
Free kicks. She was giving
I was like, blow the fucking whistle.
Free kicks.
Put us out of our misery, Emily.
Just outside the box, well over the 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think you can understand why their belief was still there from the players. Like, well, she's given us loads of extra time. We'll keep pushing. And they came very close in added time.
Yeah. So I didn't really feel like they were necessarily in their heads. Like, I personally. I mean, maybe if there was like that, I felt like that was actually more at the start of the second half, and then it felt like maybe that gave way to just like, let's just throw everything at it. But I was like, I did kind of like appreciate, I guess, that it did feel like they were really, really going for it.
There's also there's that fine line between urgency and desperation, and I think there was a constant sense of urgency. I mean, Ellie Carpenter was doing her damnedest, like anytime the ball went out of play, quickly get on it. Like she was trying to speed up the ball so quickly to, like, you know, work her way back into the game. But then as the clock ticks, that becomes desperate. But then they created chances in which they nearly scored from in those desperate moments. The other thing as well, like following up on your final third element, I also feel like with Lauren James not being fully fit yet and just coming back, that it feels like the main player who feels like they could be the sort of get out of jail player right now is Alyssa Thompson, and then maybe Ellie Carpenter, just by like the way she's played this season. And perhaps there's not enough of what feels like that reliable individual moment quality that maybe Sam Kerr used to be that sort of player, right, for them.
Yeah.
Ramirez we obviously is out long term. Gura Wrighton is out at the moment. Is she still on like
No, she's back.
leave? Right, okay. She was on the bench though. No. Whereas in the past there's been maybe more reliable options to do that. Alyssa Thompson was working really hard yesterday, but you know, it wasn't clicking for her in the game. She'd have a couple of chances. But yeah, it felt like those sorts of players were lacking when in the past that's been a little bit more kind of reliable in that sense. But that's part of that final third element, Jessy.
I do think it makes a really big difference if you have players who are in good runs of form, and Chelsea have benefited from that in the past, like you say, with Kerr. And like, even when Sam Kerr came on, I mean, she missed a very big chance, or what felt like a very big chance in the moment, and she definitely looked like she'd come back from Australia and is still like a little bit rusty. But I did think you could immediately see how much Everton sort of freaked out more by just her presence. And I definitely think that's something that maybe Chelsea are kind of still like working on cultivating. I do just think it doesn't feel like there are those like kind of patterns of play there to really create the good opportunities, even if I felt like at points that there were like some nice link ups. And I did think like, I know some Chelsea fans really don't like Alyssa Thompson off the right, but I kind of thought she looked pretty good, at least in the first half. So I do think that it was all there apart from that. It was the box movement, I think, that really frustrated me. It was like, you know, Thompson would go past, I think it was Kitagawa she was up against, go past her, and then it was like, it wasn't like there was a sense of should she be putting the ball straight across the box, should be trying to cut it back, and like there weren't even really the players there for her to look for, and then you get in the thing where the point where she gets through on goal and she takes that shot and sort of like, yeah, Brosnan like makes a save, and you're like, I don't really know why LJ didn't stop running, but like in that moment you're like, oh no, that's the point where you need to cut across, because LJ was there for the tap in. But again, it's like that kind of thing of like, I can see why Thompson took the shot, because like most of the time throughout the game there was no one in the box.
We also got to give Everton some credit because they defended for their lives. Hayashi takes her goal really well, and all it takes in a lot of these games for the teams low down the table is taking those little chances that you'll get against the big sides and then trying to defend your lead, and they did it really well. And as much as Brosnan makes a bit of an error that nearly lets in a goal, she was, did really well for her side across the whole game. I think she was player of the match in the end, wasn't she?
Yeah, although I felt like Ruben Mace was a bit robbed.
Yeah, I mean, Ruben Mace, great post-match as well. And like Everton, as much as it's been a tough season for them, yesterday was a perfect example of a group who are like seriously together, really playing for each other. Even when you look at the table, you're like, you've had a hard.
I didn't realise that they hadn't won since
the derby,
and they hadn't kept a clean sheet all season either.
Yeah, I mean, they always beat us, so 3-1, free hit for you, babe.
Yeah, I think they've had like injuries and other issues, and I think I've said on this pod before, I'm not massively sure Brian Sorensen's the right coach for that club, and with the players that they've brought in, I think there's some really nice individual quality there, and I just don't see a progress from across basically the last 3 or 4 seasons. It just feels like they always end up in the same place trying to play football that doesn't suit them.
That's just the Everton mentality. That's just a whole club feeling. You just ride it out in the middle.
But yeah, great win for them, and they enjoyed it, and I quite liked the drama of it, like the full-time whistle goes.
Oh, the drama of it is so
and
good.
I don't know who it was, but there's a Chelsea player that like falls to the floor.
Oh, it's Lucy Bronze.
Yeah.
It's so performative.
It's like they've lost the World Cup final, and then the celebrations on the Everton bench, Sorensen and his staff, but all the players on the pitch. It was huge. It was like a cup semi-final win. It didn't just feel like
so rarely.
a WSL. Yeah, and that's what I quite like, the drama of that. And yeah, I mean, it was a good weekend for Man City. We'll quickly talk about why it was a good weekend of Man City before getting into the Arsenal-Liverpool game. But obviously, they get their very comfortable win against Leicester, which would have been expected.
Well, you say comfortable, but
It took them a while.
It took them a while, and I was there like.
It took them a while, but they had a lot of chances that they weren't
This has been a very failed, hate-watchy weekend for me, I will say. I was like,
hey,
keeping an eye on
You've always
City.
got Arsenal men.
Yeah, that's true. Keeping an eye on City, I was like, oh, West Ham equaliser against United. I was sat at the Emirates, and in the end, it was just Chelsea who lost.
No, there was some early Bunny Shaw chances that should have been taken that weren't early. But then once the like floodgates opened, that was it. Yeah. But they go 6 points clear like a few hours before Chelsea play, and then the expectation was for now, Chelsea would get that win, and then they finished the weekend 6 points
in the
clear.
WSL is a lot of points.
6 points ahead of Chelsea. That's the thing, not just ahead of Chelsea is interesting.
When I was watching the multi-view, which first time watching the multi-view.
Oh, welcome to the multi-view club.
Is that
Game
overwhelming?
Yes.
It's a bit overwhelming. I'm not sure I actually watched much football.
I think it's useful for pods.
It's really good for podding.
Yes, I agree.
And just being across everything.
Normally, I've just preferred to.
I
It's a
don't
little
feel
bit
like I was in
chaotic.
deep. I just feel like I was keeping an eye on the scores.
But it's nice when you've got Sue Smith and
Yeah.
apologies to her commentary partner, I don't know who he is, who were leading us through. You
Also,
like a bit of narrative.
fair
Also,
play
Sue
to
Smith
them.
just like quite fun and camp for it.
Yeah, I
Yes.
love Sue Smith.
Yeah.
Fair play to them because United kicked off 15 minutes late. They didn't have a break. They just had to commentate for like 2 hours.
Lee Sports
solid.
Village traffic strikes again.
Yeah.
I have been
Oh,
there.
we've all been there.
guys.
But I like it because you get more banter than you do watching a game because
they're
they
having fun with
have
it.
to. Yeah, they have to sort of lean into the conversation of it.
But I thought it was funny because Sue Smith was basically like, yeah, so like it really like it is between Chelsea and City now. Like Arsenal and United are so off it. Like they're battling for third. And I'm like, early December. It's crazy.
But we had this last season.
Yeah, I mean, last season you were.
But
you had
also,
won it.
so funny, my favourite tweet is someone saying, was it unbiased? It might have been unbiased, saying Arsenal are finally going to finish above Chelsea, but they're not going to win the league.
So true. Okay, well, on that note, let's talk Arsenal-Liverpool next. So you guys were both at the Emirates for this one. Arsenal beating Liverpool 2-1 thanks to a very, very late Stina Blackstenius screamer. We don't get many Stina screamers.
Funny. Her cameo. Wow.
Miss is a sitter.
All-timer. Some of the misses.
Yeah, misses a one-on-one.
Some of the offsides. And then fairs.
Honestly, they don't make them like Stina.
No, I know.
Misses a one-on-one, offside every 2 seconds, and then scores an absolute screener with her left, right-footed girly, but she makes the hardest ones look so
She's
easy
such
and
a
the easy ones
mystery.
look
She
so
just
hard.
keeps you on your
she
toes.
does.
You just don't know what this girl is going to do now.
But it's not even just the finish. It's the way she kind of has to turn, let the ball bounce.
Yeah.
Well, it reminded me a bit of the famous Brighton double spin. It was like
Spinner-
sort of similar
spinner
body.
Blackstenius.
Yeah.
I also
movement.
think what makes her extra funny, and speaking of camp, quite camp,
she is quite camp.
Yeah.
is the fact that she doesn't like the limelight. Like, she's very kind of reserved and shy, but then she scores all these iconic goals, and she's a bit like, oh no, not me, not me, stop. But yeah, absolute screamer from Stina, and it salvages the day a little bit for Arsenal because it did feel like it was creeping towards being one of those days. Olivia
Sorry,
Smith.
I'm still so... No, don't say her name to me.
Redacted Smith scores a really good goal.
So
But we
good.
have to say
Keeper.
Faye Kirby should have done better. But in terms of the
Yeah.
solo work, she takes it past 3 or 4 players and then puts it in the bottom corner. But Faye Kirby could have done better, really. She doesn't get
But
down to
I
it.
will say, I was trash talking Faye Kirby for the entirety of the first half because she was boiling my
She
noggin.
made some good saves in the
but
second
she
half.
redeemed herself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she really did.
She
Because I was
heard me.
like, she embarrassed
her
me
level.
because
I know what I was thinking. I was like, Becky was on about this girl.
I know, and I was like, fuck's sake.
I know, because you shouted her out in the 23s chat.
Yeah.
I
But
know,
then
that was
she did
funny.
redeem herself in the second half. She made some good saves.
And then Beta Olsen scores again.
Crazy.
Beta Olsen again, ole ole. That's 4 and 5
Also,
for her.
who else enjoyed seeing Annika Borb?
Liverpool minutes away from getting that point. I feel like that's been the story of their season. They've conceded so many late goals. Just really, really poor from
It
them.
does feel like I feel a little bit better because I think a few weeks ago I was like, this is awful, and I don't see what the plan is, and I don't see where it's going. But I feel like I'm starting to see it come together.
Well, we
It just needs to.
We also have to say, of all the teams in the league who've had bad injuries, Liverpool have had a hell of a run. They've lost 2 players to ACL injuries, Sophie Romhug and Marie Hoberger. Grace Fisk out, picked up an injury on England duty. That's their captain. Gemma Bonner's still out. Sam Kerr's got a back issue. They've got some players coming back who I think came on in the second half, were on the bench. So it's not been
and
easy
we
for
lost
them.
Olivia Smith.
And you lost Olivia
And
Smith.
Taylor
Taylor
Hines.
Hines.
I really did enjoy booing them.
Yeah, that's satisfying.
But then Taylor Hines was really sweet at the end and came over it. They both did, but then I felt a bit bad. I didn't feel bad for booing Olivia Smith. I felt a bit bad for booing Taylor Hines. I was like,
Really?
no, you...
I would be more inclined to boo Hines than
Interesting.
Smith. Because Smith, I'm like, everyone knew that Smith was going to be flipped,
Yeah, she wasn't
right?
gonna stay
And
long.
she made your club a huge amount of money.
Yeah, but we spent it on fucking Gareth Taylor.
But that's not.
No,
that's
but
not to
they
do with
spent it on
Liv
Alexander
Smith.
Isak.
That's not.
And that was foolish itself. But
That's nothing to do. That's not Liv Smith's problem.
Yeah.
okay.
exactly.
But I thought that we would have more time with her. Like, one season is it's just like a pet that's dying. Like, one season is still actually, in terms of those players who, like, they come through, they make a big name for themselves. Like, you think you would get 2 seasons.
But I just
you don't
feel
get
like-
this. You don't get this because you have a big club. But I have to go through the pain every single time of, like, having a player that you're like, oh my God, like, They're amazing and they're scoring. Piss off.
Sorry, no, I'm not having this.
A Liverpool fan crying.
No, but I'm not having this Liverpool fan accusing a Chelsea fan of being a big club and you're not being a club. Famously,
no. So
Liverpool
on
have
the
just
women's
not
side.
On the women's side.
Yeah, but I'm speaking about the women's side as well.
Yeah.
The issue with Liverpool is not
That's
the
irrelevant
fact
right now. That is irrelevant right
it's
now.
It's how they spend the money.
Yeah, fine.
They have successfully become.
Yeah, we're not doing a good. We're not doing anything good behind the scenes. That I don't disagree with.
But it's still hard for a fan.
It's like
It's
it's
still
not my
control
fault.
I still
our
hard for a
club are-
fan. Yeah, but I understand that that's a club issue with how they not just reinvest the money that they get, but also what they spend elsewhere, and leads me on to my next point, which is January transfer window. There's been a lot of chat
spending that million.
Well, lot of chat that Liverpool are gonna, get to work and bring in some players.
I just don't think that's true.
But I think this is a prime example of. My heart does not bleed. I do not see the violin for a club where you have the budget, you've sold the players, you have to spend the money now and invest and. Look, every single week their bench is just depressing.
Can we do a
it's like-
Spotify poll for who you would boo harder? Heinz.
let democracy
But it's
win.
also like you can't. It's really hard at the moment because if you do bring players in, like unless you're like Michelle Kang, who's like I'm gonna pay whatever and build this team, like. Of course, we're not going to keep players. Like we probably would be doing well if we still had Olivia Smith. But it's like then when we lose that player, we've got to rebuild again. And it's like, well, yeah, obviously players aren't going to stay if they're good enough to then go and play for a team that are in the Champions League. But like, how do we get in the Champions League if all of our players who are good enough to help us get there then leave?
Is it easy? You spend money.
Yeah.
They're not
also-
going to do that. It's hard if you're not going to do that. Yes,
It's
that's
the recruitment
true.
strategy. It's once you get and in some ways they have done that with the players that we mentioned that are injured. They are good players that the team have recruited well and have signed very long-term deals and hold on to. But then you look across other elements of the team and they haven't done that.
Let me also bring it back to Taylor Hines getting that England call up. It's like even when we were doing well, even when we finished fourth, she wasn't getting that call up. As soon as she's left and gone to Arsenal, she's not getting.
I don't
any
believe
minutes.
this conspiracy.
No,
She's not
theory.
getting any. No, come
I
on,
don't
no,
believe this
I'm rattled.
conspiracy
My dog is
theory.
boiled. She
I
played
don't buy it.
no minutes
I
for
enjoy
Arsenal.
the idea that Serena Wiegman doesn't know what Liverpool is, but I can't endorse it as
No.
a real.
But I'm not saying that she doesn't know what it is. But
It's because Rachel Daly doesn't exist anymore.
okay, fine. But I still think she's not played any minutes.
Well,
She has
now.
now.
She has now. But
No,
at the
but
time,
she was playing. The only time she was
And
playing
Grace
was in the
Smith's got a
Champions
call-up.
League.
Yeah, in the end.
Okay, well, let's move on to Arsenal because we've done our
Wait,
woe is me
wait.
Liverpool
No,
segment.
can I
Sorry,
just
we need to
talk
talk about the back pass.
Oh my god!
That's not what I wanted to talk about.
Wow, the back pass kind of faded into the background for me.
That was so funny.
First half, the most obvious back pass you've ever seen.
So funny.
Played back to Faye Kirby, and the ref does not see it. And I don't.
No, the ref is looking at it and just gives like a nice thumbs
But
up.
I don't understand why the Arsenal players weren't screaming more for that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I would have
That's
been
so true.
so rattled. I was watching it thinking I'd gone insane.
Yeah.
Also, it's like, okay, maybe it's because like it was kind of like Faye Kirby, defender, I can't remember who the defender was, ref. So it's like she was trying to like jockey it back to the keeper,
It was
but
Hannah
then
Silcott, right?
yeah, but then realised that she wasn't going to make it, so does a little tap, which is, she passes it, but I think the ref probably doesn't see it, and so it's like, okay, look at the context clues around you, ref. Like the away end groans collectively. The defender goes, oh my god.
It just felt like peak women's football.
Yeah.
And like
so
I'm obviously
embarrassing.
thrilled that the ref didn't give it, but it is like the worst piece of officiating
Yeah.
I've seen in a while. Like it's so
The
embarrassing.
worst piece of officiating for this week. Let's talk about Arsenal though, because it's been a very noisy few weeks around the club. Obviously, that big piece in the Athletic about dressing room unrest and cultural issues. And if this had been
the girls
1-1,
are fighting.
if this had been 1-1, the noise would have got louder and louder, and it hasn't gone away. It was very busy press conference on Friday for Renee Slegers, because she not only had to answer questions about that, because that broke during the international break, there was also Daphne Van Domselaar's injury, Chloe Kelly's injury. So, like, there's a lot happening at the club right now. Williamson and Kim Little are finally now back in the squad. Kim Little got some minutes on the weekend. Williamson may get some minutes this week in the Champions League. But there's a lot going on there. And then you've got as well the added element of Slegers' contract. So her contract is up next summer because she only signed a short-term deal. So that is also coming up in conversation about, her future. And we're also coming up to a year, or it's been a year since she kind of took over permanently. So, Jessy, it felt like a result that Arsenal desperately needed on Saturday.
Yeah, and I guess it felt like a bit of a funny game because Arsenal started really well. They score, you're like, okay, this is going to be pretty classic. And then Liverpool's goal kind of came out of nowhere. And it just felt like Arsenal were immediately like, oh, maybe we don't know how to play football. And it's this kind of funny thing that then it feels like Arsenal really struggled to like maintain a level of intensity. I actually thought at the start of the second half they were really good. I thought Alessia Russo was really good at everything apart from putting the ball in the net. And they probably could have scored a second and third goal in that kind of first 15 minutes. And I mean, I guess this is what we've said before. Sometimes it feels like Slegers' tactical setup is a bit cookie cutter. But when it works, you're like, well, that kind of made sense. I don't really know. I think Liverpool probably have a little bit of blame in terms of that it felt like that Blackstenius is going to come on. That then the idea is going to be to sort of try and play balls in behind and have her, run off. And it just felt like Liverpool didn't really deal with what I felt like was quite an obvious situation. But Slegers makes that change, and Blackstenius did generate like a lot of chances within that, and then obviously she gets the goal. But yeah, I mean, I still feel like this isn't a team that feels particularly inspirational or exciting in that sense. It feels like all quite obvious, and when it works, it's great, and when it doesn't work, it feels like, as I say, because it's so obvious, it kind of surprises me when teams like Liverpool don't necessarily seem to have like game planned for, because what's going to happen is that Blackstenius will come on and Rousseau will go to the 10. And,
I do think in that last, 10, 15 minutes, I was like, this could go either way. Because Arsenal did look shaky, and I thought...
Yes,
Liverpool
I felt like...
had some good chances. They obviously, didn't do anything with them. But I was, going around, I was like, I'm feeling hopeful. I'm feeling a little bit of hope here.
But that almost felt more like, because you're like, even if Arsenal score, it felt like Liverpool could score, not that Liverpool were going to be able to defend.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's like, it's always easy in hindsight, right? It's a bit like the Chelsea game. Like, if Chelsea go on to win, you're like, oh yeah, well, it always felt like Chelsea were going to score. Yeah. But because they didn't, you're like, it felt like they were never going to score. And I kind of feel like you could say this about this one as well.
I think everything with the noise around the team, the noise about Slegers' future, and the performances makes me feel like this Arsenal team are so in flux week to week. There has just never been something that's felt secure about them this season, and some of that is obviously the poor results that they've had, the poor performances, but everything just feels unstable. And even before a game kicks off, there's so much kind of noise and tension and nerves around the place, and some of that comes with the size of the fan base, the size of the expectation, what they achieve with the Champions League, where they're going. They are the biggest and most talked about and most supported team in the WSL, so there's always eyes on them. But yeah, it's just felt like a very uneasy season for them, and I don't see where the moment is that then it comes back on track. Maybe it's when the Champions League knockout stage begins, and that feels like where Arsenal really come into their own. But I just don't know where there's going to be that sense of stability that I feel like they desperately need, because there's always an injury or something that comes out, or a defeat. There's never been a sense of balance and calm about the place.
Well, it's interesting as well, isn't it? Obviously, I feel like the notable thing when the lineup came out was that Hines was starting ahead of McCabe, and part of that athletic piece was sort of about this idea that, there are certain senior players who run that dressing room. And I don't think it, takes a genius to think that maybe Katie McCabe is one of those kind of players. So it feels like Slagers is also sort of in her own kind of
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
well, like in like a sort of power struggle in that sense as well, maybe of trying to like take a little bit more control of that dressing room. And I guess that's kind of an interesting element, but you kind of feel sorry for Slagers because she's got this contract uncertainty. And I do fear for her because Tim Stillman basically said that he couldn't, this was a couple of weeks ago, feel like he couldn't justify giving her a new contract, which I think is the equivalent of a Grim Reaper knocking on your door. But, that's hard, I think, for a manager as well, because how, if you're in the position where you're like, well, I don't know, and maybe, she has more assurances from the club than we know about or whatever, but if you kind of feel like you're in a position where you're not in a secure place, it's hard then to go and, try and deal, I guess, with senior players too. So I think that's quite an interesting element because, again, it does feel like with Arsenal a lot of the time, there's maybe so much stuff going on in the dressing room that we're not kind of privy to, that it becomes harder to sort of really understand what's going on as a result. But I do feel like that's quite an interesting dynamic that maybe Slagers is like, oh, I'm trying to kind of put my foot down here, and whether how successful she is with that might be kind of that determining factor.
I enjoyed the social media admin putting out the dressing room video to dispel some of the potential tension.
They were like went in with the camera like, everybody smile, everybody look friendly.
I also think a lot of people maybe have seen how well that City, our social media admin queens at the moment, are doing with their Andre Yegler's dressing room clips, which I think are great. So maybe Arsenal trying to get a
Did anyone see the Jonas Eidevall after San Diego Wave?
I did see that.
Wild Sevens. Oh,
no,
it was a real reminder of an ick. Yeah, it was him doing his speech after they won in like the huddle, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't think it'll be the last of it we hear on all those dressing room antics. Mid-table, it was an interesting one because as we talked about on Thursday's show in our mailbag, we had a question about London City. There was some big shifts in the mid-table madness.
Again, all of the stuff that we talked about, or me specifically, then they've been like, you know what, fuck you.
They
fuck
did say,
you.
fuck Becky.
I'm going to do something stupid.
Spurs got a huge win against Aston Villa. They went 1-0 down, won that game 2-1. Late winner. It was such a fun game on the multi-view.
Villa going 1-0 up with 10 players. Really funny.
Really funny. Then just forgetting how to defend.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And
behaviour.
then a big result for Brighton. They beat London City Lionesses 1-0. And they could have won by more, to be honest. They had a lot of chances, missed a penalty in the first half as well. And that's kind of, I mean, now Brighton are just 1 point behind London City Lionesses, and London City Lionesses are 4 points behind Spurs and Arsenal. So it's very interesting and tight down there. Spurs' next game, they have Manchester United on Sunday, so that could be an interesting one. The Martin Ho derby, very interesting.
Yeah, and it's something I believe that has been, relished by both teams.
Yeah. Oh, United
Spurs
fans
are
already
doing really well. It's really surprising because I always just think, they're just kind of hanging out.
And they've got reinforcements coming in Jan, so people better be worried. I wonder whether Michelle Kang will be throwing down the checkbook in January.
When is Michelle Kang not throwing down the checkbook?
True.
And Brighton have Chelsea at home, and that's traditionally a bit of a bogey game for Chelsea.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, who obviously have Champions League football midweek as well.
Well, I was going to say, I'll quickly shout out English clubs in the Champions League this week. So Chelsea have got Roma, Arsenal have got 20, and United have got Lyon, which will be a really tough game. Fallon
reappeared.
I have a feeling they can do it.
I thought she was out till January.
Yeah,
no, I think it was only meant to be a couple of weeks. And I guess the international break.
United stocks went back up.
I guess the international break was enough to recover. But,
I think they can beat them. I don't know why.
Well, you think United can beat Lyon?
Yeah, I don't know where I've got this feeling from. I just think they can pull it off.
I mean, we've seen Lyon concede in the Champions League a lot this season, but
they were 3-0 down to Juventus.
I do worry about United's defence against the individual ability of some of those Lyon players is unbelievable. So given how they kind of imploded a little bit in that Wolfsburg game, I think there's goals to be had. I think that they could definitely get one or two.
It's
but-
annoying because Arsenal and Manchester United have sort of been in love in the Champions League and played on the same night, but for some reason
They're not now.
they're not, and so I will miss Manchester United Lyon because I'm going to see Roma at Homer.
But God. But you felt sad and left out.
I did, yeah, you're right,
But now you can't watch them.
well, because before they were doing a 5:45 and an 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
and that's why I felt left out, that we were then the lonely
yeah,
team.
true. But now it's all at
But
the
they're
same
both
time.
at 8 o'clock.
Well, we're going to be back on Thursday talking about the Champions League. So that'll be our next episode this week. But for now, we'll bid you all adieu.
So yeah, and yeah, and yeah.
Yeah. Carrying our musical theme. JPH, what are you up to this week?
I just told you, Roma at Homer.
Oh, Roma at Homer.
I'm really going to make this a thing.
BTG, are you going to watch any footy?
No, I actually can't go to watch any Women's Champions League this year because I'm actually working for...
Because I've been banned by UEFA.
I've been barred. Because I'm working it, but from home. So the first Women's Champions League game I will go to this season will be the final.
Oh, wow, I love that. Come out for the big one.
If I make it there
With your flights.
with my dodgy flights.
Oh, yeah, famously. Okay, well, that's enough WSL chat. We will see you for the Champions League on Thursday.